and welcome to #Leadership Talks. My name is Siyabonga Motha, and for sure you've been asking yourself a lot of questions about politics in South Africa. Looking at our current population in South Africa, it's dominated by people who were born in the 80s, the 90s, and as well as the 2000s. And some questions that you might ask that, is it important for you to know who your politicians are? So today I have someone who is a young politician. He's the leader of the African Transformation Movement, Mr. Vuyolwethu Zungula. Mr. Zungula, thank you so much for joining me here on #Leadership Talks.
Thank you for having us, and we appreciate truly the platform that we get from you guys.
Okay, now, I mean, looking at this, you've been in Parliament for like 6 months now. How was the experience so far?
It's a life-changing experience because when you're outside of Parliament, you only have a different perspective, but when you're inside now, you need to be on the forefront in terms of pushing government to make the changes. It pushes you to think differently, it pushes you to apply your mind differently so that you can make the change, because a lot of people who can't be in Parliament, they depend on you to actually drive the change. So there's a lot of what you call responsibility that lies with being in Parliament.
And of course, when you were running for the campaign, when you're doing your campaign for the 2019 general elections, of course there were some challenges that you faced. What were those, or some of those challenges?
The biggest challenge was the lack of transformation in the media space. Our media is controlled by pretty much one group. Therefore, they get to influence the minds of many South Africans. If that one group decides we do not want this guy, so we're going to flood all of our newspapers as well as our TV stations with a certain narrative to make sure that the public do not, what you call, take seriously this person. So you've got those odds stacked up against you, because what we witnessed as the ATM was that even before we were registered, we were called a Zuma party. When the Zuma party thing did not stay.
It's one of the things that I like us to get into a bit later on.
Yeah.
But for someone who only knew about you when you were doing a campaign during the elections, but who is Vuyolwethu Zungula? How did you become a politician? Vuyolwethu Zungula, how did you become a politician?
I think, firstly, everyone is a politician in the sense that, because politics is the affairs that it's everything. It's the activities surrounding the affairs of your country as well as the livelihood of your fellow citizens. Therefore, each and every person that lives in Earth has got a view as to what could be done to make, to create jobs, to provide a better, secure country. The only difference is that other people are not formal, they're not formal in politics, meaning in political parties. So I've always been a person that was working outside of formal political structures, assisting people, especially in my student days, as I was a leader of a student movement from 2006 up until 2009 at a branch level, university level. Then from 2012, I think for 6 years at a national level. So with that experience, I got to understand the struggles that young people are facing, as well as older people are facing, because I had to interact with older people. It's only with the formation of ATM that I became now, I became a part of a formal political organization.
Now, we have a number of political parties in South Africa, and I remember during the elections we saw a very long ballot paper. One would ask, what's unique about the African Transformation Movement?
The key is it's not a breakaway party. Secondly, it's not a party formed out of anger for anyone.
But people have said that before, that you're coming from, the ATM is formed by people who angry ANC members, ex-members of the ANC. How would you react on that?
It's all lies, because, you know, if a person were to observe or maybe just go through our Facebook or Twitter handle, they will be able to understand that we as the ATM, we started off, no one took us seriously. But when we started to gain momentum, now all of the propaganda followed, because we are a party that is led not by people that are break away from any political party. Hence, if you're to check, for example, myself, I've never been a member of the ANC, DA, or any political party. This is the first political party that I'm part of. Therefore, this ATM is a party that is formed through the cries of ordinary citizens, and it's led by not by people who are coming from political parties, but by people who understand the cries, because the oppression that we face as ordinary citizens also comes from political parties. When you are coming to the elections, they will come with many promises. After the elections, they disappear. Therefore, ordinary citizens stood up and said, look, let us form our own party, a party that will subscribe to our values as a people, and a party that will represent us.
But one would say, because you just said it's a party that's formed by people who want to deal with issues that people in South Africa are facing, but people will ask questions about Mzwanele Mai, talking about Mzwanele Mai, saying he's a former ANC member, and he's been around, a lot of stories around the Guptas, as well as after the 887 channel was closed down and now it's Afro World. He was the CEO, they'd say he was around a lot of controversy, and now to see the ATM welcoming him as a member, some people have questioned that. What's your reaction on that?
Look, you have 58 million citizens in our country. Now, if you want to serve the entire population, you can't discard people based on the propaganda that is there in the media space. Because if, for example, people are saying Mr. Mzwanele Mai is guilty of corruption, a person must ask himself, why has there not even one case opened against him? So the problem that we have in the country is that you've got a media space that thrives on sensation. Now, the sensation that is there in the media space sometimes not based on any factual reporting. It is just means of selling many papers. Therefore, we as the ATM, we ask ourselves as to, are we going to allow what we call media that has been unfair on Mr. Mzwanele? And because we understood that the media has also been unfair on us, therefore we understood his position. And if there's something that he has done wrong, people must go and open a case. A person can really ask, this person is said to have done so many wrong things in the country, yet not even one case has been opened by the police station. And also, you must think about, when it comes to the ANC, they speak about immediately you are in the ANC, you get to be protected because of the political, influence. But once you go outside of the ANC, you don't have the political influence of the ANC. Therefore, if there was a time for Mr. Mzwanele to be charged, it's now, because he's no longer now in the ANC. He's not charged because he's not done anything wrong.
Okay, I really understand that, and of course, it's a matter of people coming up with what they know and obviously bring it forward to open a case. It's clear. Now, South Africa has been through a lot in 2019. We cannot, run away from that. But if now I were to give you, let's say you are a doctor of politics in South Africa now, what would be the diagnosis of our South African politics?
Sure. Don't know where I could start. But we like you're saying, South Africa has been through a lot. And from a leadership perspective, we do not have proper sound leadership to guide the country towards a state whereby South Africans can be happy. Because if you check, for example, the current president, when he was campaigning, he promised to turn things around, but it's been close to 2 years now since he's become the president of the country. But if you check his work, if you check, for example, the SOEs, all of them, they are not doing well. They keep on getting bailouts. Look at the issue of crime and corruption. Like now, the Auditor General released a report saying it has increased, irregular expenditures also increased in the past year. So you can see that the crux of the problem lies in the leadership. We do not have a leadership that will boldly address the issues, because the leadership that we have in the country is not a free leadership. It's a leadership that is in the pockets of whoever that funded them to be where they are currently. And immediately you have people that are not free to actually lead, people that are in the pockets of big businesses. Then their hands are tied because they might want to do A, but if the funders that paid for their campaigns are saying, no, what will work for us is actually B. They have to toe the line. So that's the problem that we have in the country. We do not have independent leaders that are able to drive the country. We've got people that are in leadership, but they're not leading, they're not in power.
So basically you do believe that the current government, or the party in government, is captured, basically?
Definitely, and no one can dispute that. Look, you can't give a person $1 billion. Let's start now in the internal campaign of the ANC. You give a person $1 billion, and you expect that this person will not return the favor. Secondly, there's no transparency as to now the political party, which is the ANC. How many deals did it get into when it was campaigning now as an organization? Now, one thing that also Thomas Sankara said, that if anyone feeds you, they will control you. Therefore, control is capture.
And around capture, because it has been quite a lot, there's a commission of inquiry into state capture now. And I mean, a lot of testimonies have been shared in the commission, but nothing much has been done by the NPA or maybe even the Hawks. Maybe they're still investigating, who knows, but we haven't seen any major progress from those two bodies. Do you think the commission is still serving its right purpose? I mean, keeping in mind, of course, the corruption and the state being captured, do you think it's still serving its purpose?
Look, there should not be even a state capture to begin with if you had the NPA and the Hawks doing their job. You only have a commission of inquiry because other state organizations or entities have failed. Because the duty of the NPA, for example, is to investigate and charge people that are assumed, or people that are said to be what you call being corrupt or have acted unlawfully. Now, you have cases whereby people have been speaking about these things time and time again, because some people have gone to the State Capture Commission to repeat things that they've said in the past 5 or 6 years. Therefore, the failure of the entities of the government institution has led to the State Capture Commission. Now, if you look at the commissions generally in our country, you find that the commissions, it's just a waste of money, because you have commissions, but after that, it's either the recommendations get to be overturned or nothing is done, nothing is implemented, as in the case now whereby they're just investigating, but there's no real teeth from the other institutions to say this information has come out of the commission, therefore we as the Hawks or we as the NPA, this is our action.
As the ATM, if you were given the opportunity now to, talk, say something about, or maybe have a final decision when it comes to the Commission of Inquiry to State Capture, what would be that decision that you would take if you were given that capacity?
Look, at the moment, it's difficult because you do want to expose corruption. Now, the question is, if you stop this thing halfway, there are people that have not been given a chance to actually air out their views. And at the same time, you want to give people the ample opportunity for them to openly bring to light all of the issues that they understand to be to have led to corruption in our country. After that, now you give to the institutions to actually act on that. Now, it makes sense, for example, now to say, look, you've already started and you've spent so much money, finish the commission, have your recommendations, but let us have something binding now to the other institutions, so that these recommendations are not just mere recommendations whereby they can be implemented or not implemented, but it is something that binds the other institutions, just like how the public protector operates, whereby their findings, they're enforceable. Therefore, you do need findings as well as recommendations from the commissions that will be enforceable by the other institutions.
Okay, now, of course, a lot of people in South Africa are still not confused about the Commission of Inquiry, and of course, it uses English most of the time, and that's why we're in a position whereby it's not communicated throughout the greater population of the country. Now, obviously, still moving when we're talking about corruption and the bailouts that you were talking about earlier on, and ESCOM was in deep crisis with the newly appointed CEO, Andre de Ruyter. What's your take on him?
When you look at his track record at Nampak, in 2014, the share price was 39 rand 0.85. Last week, I think it was 6 rand something. Now, if you look at the performance just on the share price, because a CEO, his primary duty is to make sure that he creates shareholder value. He creates value for the shareholders, meaning the share price must increase. Now, if you look at the performance of the company that he's currently in leadership of, one can actually doubt if he can turn things around. Secondly, you've got an issue that he has not been working in Eskom, because Eskom is not like a totally private entity, because you've got the political influence that one CEO has to basically live with. He's not a person that has been working inside Eskom to know exactly what is the issue around Eskom. Therefore, immediately when he starts in January, he's going to need more time to understand as to what are the issues, how can you turn things around. But had you taken someone who is part of Eskom, and that person understands exactly what is going on, therefore he does not need as much time to actually read and understand, then maybe develop a strategy to turn things around. Therefore, again, we have got an issue whereby previous, in the past few months, we've been noting that a lot of African executives are being purged in the state-owned entities. If you look at, for example, SAA, whereby Mr. Jahana resigned as a result of, because of he did not get the necessary support and he was getting frustrated. So therefore, one has to look at, when it comes to the issue of transformation, is this trend reversing transformation, or is it taking transformation forward?
We're still talking about underrated. A lot of people have used the race and say he's appointed because of his race, you know, and saying that the minister could have appointed someone different. Is the ATM opposing in a way or dismissing his appointment because of race or because of his capabilities?
Firstly, its capabilities. Now, the second thing is you want to transform the country. Immediately you're saying you can't find any African person to turn things around at Eskom. You're sending a wrong message to...
So basically the race,
does,
the ATM
yeah,
is also
the race,
question of the race.
Race is a factor. If you, anywhere you go in our country, race is a factor. You can't run away from our past. You can't run away from what is currently happening, whereby you've got blacks that are being purged in favor of non-Africans. Therefore, one has to be skeptical when a white person is appointed in a position whereby you could have an African. And remember, we want to have a transformed economy. We want to have Africans taking part in the economy, as well as in top leadership of many companies. Therefore, if the state-owned entities whereby you've got the political will, you do the appointment yourself, you don't see any Africans, how much more in the private entities whereby the board of directors can appoint 100% top leadership, which is 100% white. So one has to look at the race. You can't run away from race.